Get out anyway. That's the latest response given to the only two youth programs at the Fruit Ridge Community Collaborative being gentrified out of Oak Park. The groups offering mentoring programs to children, classical ballet, and music classes to some 300 youth each week. The site was supposed to be for grassroots organizations. Now the site is office space and home to several county and multi-million-dollar nonprofits, many of whom are now moving into Oak Park. The kids' programs have been closed down for the last 2 months after the directors got more than 20 letters demanding they leave in January. The reason? Unlike all other tenants in FRCC, the two kids' programs were not offered new leases, which doubled and up to triple the rent over the last 2 to 3 years. They were the first nonprofit to move into the site in 2015, yet the last to learn that everyone else had been given new leases. The site managers and school district cannot explain why the two youth programs were overlooked when new leases were handed out.
Well, actually, we've learned there are 3 tenants. There is another group that has space in FRCC that is in the exact same position that we are in. They continue to pay their rent based upon the last lease agreement and were not included in the backroom deals about who should pay rent and who had rent raised. And they're in the exact same position that we're in. They're not being evicted out of the building because I guess they didn't speak up. They're being allowed to stay. So what really needs to be said is not to say that we have not paid rent, because there are statements going out that are saying that both the Girls Self-Esteem Program and the Sacramento Performing Arts Conservatory have not paid rent in 2 years. That's simply not true, and we have proof of that. We paid rent based upon the last lease agreement, and those rent checks were cashed up until this summer when Pro Youth made the announcement that they would be moving their offices into our community. That's when they stopped cashing our checks. So let's just say that we were not told to pay a different amount, and some of the tenants were allowed to not pay at all.
Candace Kelly is the director of the Girls Self-Esteem Program. She produced bank statements showing monthly payments for rent dating back to 2015 up to the summer of 2019 when Pro Youth took over managing the building and stopped cashing their checks. The organizations have been told to vacate the building by January 31st, 2020 in a notice from the leaseholder Social Good Fund out of the Bay Area. The Sac City Unified School District gave the closed school to Michael Pace of Social Good Fund in 2015. When the managing group left about 2 years ago, a group of tenants took over the building. Somehow, these same tenants were the 3 appointed to the tenants board that Michael Pace told a local news affiliate is now 100% responsible for kicking out the youth programs.
These tenant board members controlling these multi-million-dollar budgets are bartering off rent that they say they can't afford to pay, then come to the Girls Self-Esteem Program, whose budget ranges from $19,000 to $25K per annum, and triple the rent and give them 2 weeks to sign a lease.
Ali D'Souza is a professional mediator who offered to mediate this matter on behalf of the Girls Self-Esteem Program and Sacramento Performing Arts Conservatory. He told the school board that the organizations have already secured funding to pay the rent hike, and they can now sign the lease and meet their group's financial demands. But in a social media response sent to several community leaders over the weekend by a pro-youth representative, even with the groups being able to meet their demands, the 300 children and their directors need to get out of their building. The representative wrote, "These two agencies are not being evicted for any other reason than they refuse to pay the rent and sign the new lease. They refused to even respond until it was too late." It's never too late to correct a wrong, according to D'Souza, who says the two groups have been asking for help and oversight of the building well before the building got into a $90,000 debt. And when the group of tenants took over the building and began receiving grants, one up to $650,000 for the collaborative, based on services provided by all the nonprofits, but that only a few seem to be benefiting from. D'Souza says something is amiss.
Backroom deals of bartering with each other to not pay rent when the building is supposedly $90,000 in arrears. This just does not make sense. It does not add up. Something is amiss. I think really by putting this out here, whatever way we can, social media, news stories, that an audit of these nonprofits needs to happen. Because I understand why you have $1.6, $1.3, $1.2 million and you're pressuring an organization with $25,000 per annum budget. The only organization, well, one of two organizations, because both are being thrown out, one of two organizations that have children actually benefiting from this property in historical park.
Michael Pace of Social Good Fund, seeming to not grasp the gravity of this matter to our community from his Bay Area office, says the Tenants Board will file to formally evict the youth programs regardless, and that it's unfortunate things did not work for the children. The Sacramento City Unified School District has not responded to the group's plea at the last school board meeting.